and Alona's going to take us to Phillimore, and we're going to meet at the corner of Henry and then walk back. And in the meantime, you're going to be rushing for a shelter to try and keep out the rain, but find yourself some shelter and stop there and do your business from there. So, for instance, in the high street itself here, we're talking about what's the history. So, in the first phase of development, we have the street lined up, it's set out in the survey, and it makes a line with the roundhouse and eventually with a church at the other end. But the street is planned as a main street, wider than the other streets. It started out being a bit wider than it is now, but it's been reduced to 50 feet in the 1840s in the second survey because they said it was too wide and too much to maintain, so they made it narrow. So historically, it's been made the size that it is now, which we find is very comfortable. Hello. Anyway, so what we have is a town plan that calls for 50-foot wide street with 3-foot parapets. And this is partly about setting the design for the street, but also these are for advertising and for
Sorry,
street.
could you just move it? I can't see. Thank you.
Anyway, the other thing about parapets is they are to reduce the spread of fire if there's a fire in the roof of one building. It slows it down from spreading across the others. Simply keeps the fire in the roof from the verandas as well. So that's partly what parapets are about. We have slow and steady development in up to phase 3, and a new church at the other end. Now we're getting wet. And and then in the 1880s we start to get a council for the town. The town is its own municipality, and they get the town hall at the other end of the main street. So the history of the street is about the development of the town, and it's come right up to the later phase in the 1890s to 1914 is what most of the buildings there belong to that period of development. So they've rebuilt all those little cottages and their front yards and everything with these 2- and 3-storey buildings on the main street.
1914?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. From 1890 to 1914. Yeah, just before the war. Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay. It's all right. Okay, and so this architecture we see in High Street now, this is the new architecture of the gold boom period and onwards, and it's following from that town hall of 1887. So it's taking on this new streetscape with its very prominent masonry and the detail and the decoration is all of that, pretty well of that period. So that's the history basically, and also that architecture is about street verandas. Now there are not many of them left, and some of them have been rebuilt, but they used to have, a lot of the buildings had verandas, and that's something they've been trying to get back from time to time. Hello.
I couldn't hear you behind that.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Spinning wheel. Okay, so in the street, for the uses of High Street, we have a main commercial street which has the shops, the banks, the hotels and the offices. So that's concentrated in High Street. What you've got on your side streets is the lesser of those types of things. You've got more warehouses and more shipping offices and things, but the High Street is the commercial and retail centre. Okay, everybody's got an umbrella. Put it up. Okay.
You're wet.
Yeah.
Now, did you want to be able to see anything more?
This street's really protecting me. Wow, this is crazy.
So bloody silly. No one's impressed by this. Well, I'm mostly just
What a lovely day.
I'm walking tour.
No, that's not.
Alright, what we can do is, we can go to that cafe.
be handy if there were verandas still.
The nearest veranda is too far away, so
There's like one up there, warming up there.
alright, we'll go a little bit up. We'll go up to the Rona in a minute. Alright, try and find a break in the traffic.
Does anyone need an umbrella?
Keep moving up. This should be a veranda that goes right over to the edge. Okay, well the town square. Hello. I'll have to talk this way, won't I? Okay, the town set qualities of this street. You've got the width of the street, that's your floor, that's your main courtyard space. You've got the height of the buildings, that's your walls. And then you've got cornices up there that all stick out a little bit. That's your skyline. It's like a cornice.
Do you want to come in here for a moment to get out of the rain? Or?
Well, that's very sweet of you.
You alright?
You sure?
It's a bit tight in here, so yeah, come in.
Hospitality. So if we're talking about we'll try not to be too noisy with the street. Okay. Alright, so what we're talking about is a street that is not just for traffic, for walking or for driving. It's actually a place that can serve a whole lot of functions because it has the kind of scale that's comfortable for people to use. So, and that's partly because of the scale that's in the detailing of the buildings. It's got a strong skyline so you don't disappear into the sky. You have a feeling of enclosure and of definition of the space, and all of those things are important parts of the character of it. So you've got really an outdoor room and a sense of enclosure and comfortable scale that is partly the spaces, the shapes and the sizes and the scale, but it's also the detailing in the architecture. So you've got a defined floor, which is the pavements. You've got walls, corners, sky. You know, even in Christmas time, they put bunking across and lights across, and you actually have a ceiling in your street at Christmas time as part of that celebration. Anyway, it's useful for a lot of purposes, and I mentioned those before, like processions and the high table dinner, where they use it as a dining room, the whole street. So there's unity in the building form and construction, not uniformity, but unity. That is a harmony, but there's huge variety in their detail. Mostly we're talking about classical detailing, as you've got in your little brochure of language of what those things are. And the construction is all load-bearing masonry with the wall mass greater than the voids. So the openings are smaller than the voids. Oh, by the way, these tour notes are in LMS for you to check tonight if you want to go through them. And they're as rough as I'm speaking, so you know they don't make full sentences or anything, but if you're having trouble hearing me. Okay, so the architectural character comes from the articulation of the wall surfaces and expresses the levels of the interior spaces. So you get all those horizontal bands, that's usually at a changing level. That's the floor level, and then the windowsill level, and the ceilings are the cornice level at the top. So you have an idea of the division of space inside the building from the detailing on the outside. That's something we forget when we do new buildings, that actually makes a whole lot more sense to people understanding architecture and buildings and finding their way around if they can actually read something about the interior layout of the building and scale from the outside. In the perspective looking down the street though, you have lots of projections and openings that create these parapets, things that are happening in the parapets, so there's a lot of movement, a lot of interest going on through the thing. And the openings in the wall and the projections of piers and columns and so on give you a strong sense of rhythm. And that's even more so when you get to the veranda down the side of the street. You see that it's almost a staccato rhythm. It's almost like a solid steel wall if you get at a certain angle of the veranda posts, which gives you that strong sense of rhythm as well. The horizontal lines in the detailing connect the buildings to each other. They're not exactly lined up. There's a little bit of difference between them, but they have the same basic scale. And those horizontal lines also break up those strong verticals. So you're getting a balance of vertical and horizontal elements in the design that makes it a very comfortable, very stable kind of aesthetic. The buildings all address the public street in High Street. None of them turn their back on the street. None of them are private, or they all have a public face. They all have an entrance that you can find easily enough with a dominant front door. Sometimes if they're on a corner, in fact nearly all the buildings on the corner have a truncated corner, and quite often there's an entrance on that corner, and that's about addressing the street. But it's also, in fact, in the bylaws from the earliest days in Fremantle that corner buildings shall have a truncated corner, and that's about sight lines for horse and cart and drivers. And it's traffic, and you know that woman yelled at us in the car because we were in her sight line on the corner. We didn't have a truncation, so I should have put my umbrella up and pushed us all at an angle so that she could see past. So those things are real physical ways of managing people and traffic in space, but they have a consequence that if you actually put that entrance on the corner, then you have an intersection. You've got 4 buildings, one on each corner, and they all have an entrance at that corner, and you've got a sort of a little place, you know, and all those buildings are saying, okay, we're on the corner of, and they might have a main entrance also in the main street, but they use that corner as an entry point and as an entry statement. Okay, and the buildings all fit together in a way that they built with the same materials, they have the same architectural language and character without having any copying elements. The only thing that might be similar in each one is going to be the actual materials, the bricks, mortar and probably render, most of them covered in render and paint at this stage. And what that is about, they're not all built at the same time. They're built in the same 20 to 30 year period. That's quite a long time. But they have what we used to call architectural good manners. That means not only makes constructional and architectural sense to fit with your neighbours. It's a rule of council anyway to do that sort of thing. But it's good manners citizenship. It says, I'm part of this street and I'm an important part of it, and I might be a little bit bigger than the guy next door, or I might have a feature that's different to make me special, but I fit closely into that matrix and I understand what the street's about. I contribute to the architecture of the street. If you hear the old descriptions of a new building going up or the design from the architect, it says it will be an ornamental or an ornament to the town, or an ornamental addition to the town, or a complementary thing. They don't talk about it being ever in contrast, unless they're in a complete area where it's industrial and they're putting some different kind of building in. So they're always talking about being good civic manners, but also adding something good to the street, not just being a complete infill with no character at all. Okay, so we have vibrant skylines in our pediment. Yes. Okay. Yeah, all right. And so we'll look at the other things as we go down the street. Okay. Where's our host?
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so when we're in a street, we're always looking at the visual connections through streets to the other ends and to other streets. So here we have a connection. We can't quite see the town hall. If you were on the other side, you could. So that's the vista that side, and the trees are part of the High Street Mall and then the Kids Square. And here is our roundhouse. That's our earliest building. So High Street still has that visual connection with its historic roots. The dominant buildings in the High Street are nearly always the corner ones, except when you get closer to that end of the town, there are a couple of dominant buildings in the middle where the corner ones, and and they go up like this, so that there are 3-story hotels, the Cleopatra and so on up that end. But down this end, the dominant buildings are mostly on the corner. And they're dominant not because they're bigger than the others, but because they have 3 dimensions, because you see them going around a corner. And what they used to have, a lot of them, especially the hotels, was a tower at the corner as well. So this one used to have a tower, pointy roof on the top of the corner, and that was a bank, so it didn't. But around the corner here, the hotel, you see that veranda?